Hey, do you like multiplication?
Maybe. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's cool. I like math.
Cool.
Hey guys, let's go over 15.5, quiz 10, 1.5 to 1.7, version A, question number 1. The student knew that the A value was negative, so it's going to go down, and then they had their H and their K, but they did not get the correct answer here. Okay, this student wrote A value negative 1/2, good, and knew the correct vertex, negative 2, 4. The y-intercept, if you make x equals to 0, 4, negative 2, that's also correct. We put in an x value of 0, 0 plus 2 is 2, 2 squared is 4, 4 times negative 1/2 is negative 2, negative 2 plus 4 is 2, so that student was correct. Okay, this student decided to try to expand it, and this was correct, and then that should have been a 4x, and then they would have to multiply 1/2 and then add 4. So, 1/2 times the 4 would give us 2, and then 2 plus 4 is x plus 4, that's 2. Okay, question number 2 says solve the quadratic equation using quadratic formula. But you'll notice there is no quadratic formula, so you try to complete the square. So read it, and then that might give you some clues. Okay, this student wrote down the quadratic formula correctly. So that's negative 4. So then here, pay attention, you'll have negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. This becomes 2i, and then 2i divided by 2 is just I. So B is the correct answer. Okay, the student tried to factor, and remember it tells you to use the quadratic formula. Okay, here's an example. The students go in the right direction, but they didn't write down the quadratic formula correctly. They could have used their notes and just divided by 2a. Okay, this student was almost here. I would recommend using a calculator. 16 minus 20 should have been a negative 4, not a positive 4. Okay, to the backside, number 3, you have a quadratic inequality. And what threw people off was the negative sign. So this student just put it in, and then they included a negative x squared, which is correct. But right here, they should have factored out a negative 1. If they set it equal to 0, they would have gotten, yeah, these are okay. So I put a check here, and then they tested 0, 0. So that was true. The only thing I took off, I had it dashed. That's correct. Alright, a couple of students tried to go in the direction of transforming this by completing square into vertex form. And this student did it right. I liked how they factor out a negative 1, that should be negative 4x. But when they did CTS and they had the 4 here, this is really a negative 4, so that should have been a positive 4. So they should have gone a plus 1 here. I wanted to put it in there. Students said that they weren't here, and I said, if you have an excuse absence all of the days you were gone, email me when the grades are posted. That policy is listed in the syllabus, so I can excuse it, but if you were here for one of those days and you don't take it, that would be a 0. Alright, this was a typical response where students were ignoring that the A value was negative. They didn't know what to do with that, and they still didn't understand because the graph was pointing up, not down. Alright, I wanted to point out for this student that they recognized that it was already in standard form, so they tried to find the axis of symmetry, which they did, and then they didn't put it on their graph. So 2, 1 should have been right to up 1. That's where the vertex should have been, not there. But they were going in the right direction with shading. It should not have been a solid but a dash because it has a greater than. This is why I tell you guys to use an eraser. But messy, someone told me to ignore it. That's why we have erasers, guys. Use pencil. Okay, this student did a good job also, standard form. And then the only thing I took off the 0.75 for was the x-intercepts were incorrect. They don't have any x-intercepts labeled here. Alright, this is mine, so I factored out a GCF of a -1. Then I factored here inside. This is your P and that is your Q. So if you take, which means that your P value is 3, Q is 1, add them together divided by 2, your axis of symmetry is at 2. If you take 2 and put it back into the equation, which I did here, 2 is your x values, then you have 2, 1 is my vertex. It's going to be a dashed, and then I tested 0, 0, and that was true, so I shaded the outside. How else do you get these 2 points there? You could have done completing the square or also quadratic formula to get those 2 points. CTS would have given you that one.
That's all for today, Rebels. Have a mathematical Monday.